This is CNN Breaking News.
It is the top of the hour. I'm Don Lemon, 11 p.m. here on the East Coast, live with all the breaking news. Here it is. CNN projects Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum will win the Democratic nomination for governor of Florida, taking another step toward becoming the state's first black chief executive. And we're also monitoring primary results, that race in Arizona tonight. But let's get right to it now. Joining us now on the phone is Mayor Gillum. Mayor, good evening to you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Don. I tell you, it's been an amazing evening, but moreover, it's been an incredible 18 months as we moved across the state to red, blue, purple areas. And it made the case as to why regular, everyday working people deserve their seat at the table. And we won tonight.
So let's talk more specifically now, because, you know, it's a huge upset. You were outspent and you ran to the left of a crowded field here, including a former senator and governor's daughter. How did you win?
Well, I tell you, I think my opponents collectively spent $90 million to our $6 in this race. And, you know, we just kept, my wife refers to me as Seabiscuit. You know, we sort of were counted out at many points. People thought we would not make it, but we kept going slow and steady, retailing our way all across the state of Florida, a state of 20 million people. People didn't think we had a chance, but we did. And thanks to the outpouring of support from, again, regular, everyday working people who basically decided that they had had enough of losing. They've had enough with the status quo, and that they wanted a candidate who isn't necessarily perfect, but one who reflects their values, one who reflects the everyday lived experiences of people in this state. That's what we tried to deliver. And all over this state, that message carried.
All right. So let me ask you this, because I had Van Jones just a short time ago who spoke very highly of you and said, don't underestimate you, don't count you out, and because if you do, then you know you're out of your mind. Everyone's analyzing this to death, saying, you know, he won in the population centers, especially the population centers, if you look at it among demographics, among African Americans. And you know, Van said to me just now, he texted me and said, Obama is black and won Florida twice. You need to remind people of that. What do you say to that?
Well, I mean, I think he's completely right. Listen, we've had 20 years of losses, 5 consecutive Democratic nominees for governor who have all come up short. And again, no offense to any of them. I worked for all of them, wanted to see them all win. But the truth is that running Republican light in the state of Florida is not a strategy for winning. A strategy for winning is by speaking to our voters, by giving our voters something to go out and vote for and not just against. We've got to move more black voters, more brown voters, more young voters, more progressive voters, all of those voters to the polls. And I have to tell you, Don, it's been my experience that whether we're in red parts of the state or blue parts of the state or purple parts of the state, that folks are frustrated. 44% of the people in the state of Florida say that they cannot make ends meet. Our average teacher pay in the state of Florida is the 45th lowest out of 50 states. Now, that's a shame. My belief is that every part of this state feels that message, and they feel it personally because it hits them at home and in their pocketbooks. And if we continue to move around this state and the places where we're welcomed, and maybe even some places that don't feel so comfortable, talking about how it is that we're going to transform this state into one that works for more than just the well-heeled and the well-connected, but for everybody, that's how we're going to win in November.
Listen, be honest with me. I'm here in New York, right? You're down in Florida, and you said when you go to, you know, the red parts of the state as well as the blue parts of the state, people listen. Are people receptive to your message, even Trump voting Republicans in Florida receptive to your message as you have been out and about in the state?
Well, we've found people extremely receptive to our messages. I mean, I went and campaigned in the Villages, which is one of the fastest-growing, most conservative parts of this state. People were like, what are you doing in the Villages? I said, well, listen, they're voters in the Villages. And they understand, too, when they're getting a bad deal. We had Barack Obama, who tried to send this state $2.4 billion to build high-speed rail across the I-4 corridor. That wasn't a Democrat or a Republican decision. It was, in my opinion, in the best interest of the people of the state of Florida to bring that money to the state of Florida and to build 21st century transportation. We had an opportunity to expand Medicaid for over 700,000 of the most medically needy people in our state, pulling down nearly $6 billion from the federal government. We failed to do that. And what I've said to folks, again, in all parts of this state, is that doesn't have to be a red or a blue or a purple issue. The job of the governor of the state of Florida is to do what is in the interest of all the people of the state of Florida. That's what I've committed to doing. I'm a Democrat, but most importantly, I'm a Floridian who wants to build a state that has room for everybody. And that message is what we talked about throughout the primary, and we're going to double down on that into the general. And for a voter who, again, will find me not a candidate they can choose, maybe for superficial reasons, then, God bless them. But my belief is that there are more voters with basic and common sense values who believe that we can do the right thing in this state and, again, win. And that's what's gotten us this far. That's what allowed for tonight's upset. And I believe that that is what is going to make me the next governor of the great state of Florida.
I have to ask you, I'd be derelict in my duties as a journalist if I didn't. Do you think you're riding an anti-Trump wave?
Well, I didn't talk a whole bunch about Trump as I moved around the state. We all know that the president is uniquely unqualified for the position that he holds. He's dangerous to himself and to the country, in my opinion. But what we have talked about are everyday issues confronting people. The truth is that for the communities that we've got to motivate, the communities that we've got to move, the communities that we have to inspire, they feel like they've had it worse before Trump, and it's been bad for quite some time for them. And what they want to know is, what are you going to do for me? How are you going to make sure that I can work one job instead of multiple jobs as a way to make ends meet? What are we going to do to ensure that they get access to affordable health care and affordable housing and 21st century transportation? Those are the issues that I've tried to concentrate on, and I think that's what allowed us to propel ourselves to victory as the come-behind candidate to win this Democratic nomination, making history as the first person of color to lead the Democratic Party toward the November election. And when we get there, not if, but when we get to the November 6th election, we fully anticipate that we will be able to capture the hearts and the minds, the consciousness, and quite frankly, the interests of everyday Floridians who want a state that better represents them and that would deliver a better future for themselves and for their families.
Listen, Senator Bernie Sanders endorsed you. We can tell you that he tried to reach out to you tonight to congratulate you, but couldn't get through. And have you seen his statement about your win yet?
I have not yet.
Let me read it to you, and then I'll get your response.
Senator Sanders.
Yeah, it says, congratulations to Andrew Gillum on his victory tonight. What has made Andrew's campaign so powerful is that he's not just working hard to win an election. He has laid out a vision for a new course for the state of Florida and our country. No one person can take on the economic and political elites on their own. Tonight, Floridians join Andrew in standing up and demanding change in their community. That's what the political revolution is about, and Andrew Gillum is helping to lead it. What do you say to that?
Wow. Well, I tell you, I'm honored and obviously humbled by the support of the senator. He didn't have to do what he did. I mean, I literally went out and campaigned for Hillary Clinton. I endorsed her. I was a surrogate for her. I spoke at her convention and was on a leak list of 40 names of people being considered for vice president. And in spite of all of that, the senator said that I was the best candidate to lead Florida forward and came into our state and campaigned alongside me. He showed a lot of character, a lot of grit, a lot of strength. And quite frankly, there are a lot of comparisons between our message and I think what we showed is that our candidacy has the ability to bring together the Hillary wing, the Barack Obama wing, the Bernie Sanders wing, if you will. If you believe in those factions in our party, bring those folks together. And honestly, if we're going to win in November, we have to have a nominee, a candidate that can bring those folks together and quite frankly, bring some others, some disaffected Republicans right along with us. But the way we're going to do it is not by capitulating and shrinking from what we believe, but by giving our voters a reason to go out and vote for something. I think that's what we offer in November.
I've got to ask you, let's just be honest. I mean, you're vying to become the first black governor of Florida. That is a really big deal. Can you imagine?
Well, I tell you, I'm vying to be the next governor of the state of Florida. I just so happen to be black.
Nice.
And I honestly think that there's something happening in this country that even in these dark days of Donald Trump, that in the South with candidates like Stacey Abrams and with candidates like Ben Jealous and me here in Florida, that the new South is being recreated, is being led by the very people who helped to build the South in the first place. And I just think there's something pretty powerful and poetic about that. But the way we're going to win this race is by making sure that voters know that I'm going to be the governor for everybody, not just some, but for all.
That's as good an answer as I've ever gotten from anyone here on CNN. And that is a perfect way to end it. Congratulations. Good luck to you. Please join us again here on CNN, and especially on this program.
I look forward to it, Don. Thank you so much, and we're going to bring it home.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Andrew Gillum winning tonight, joining other politicians of color on the ballot come November. I want to bring in now CNN politics editor at large, Chris Cillizza, and also CNN political commentator Simone Sanders. There you have it. Very well spoken. Simone, good evening to you. Good evening to you as well, Chris. The state of Florida hasn't had a Democratic governor since the 1990s. You heard what he said. Yeah, I'm going to be the governor of the state who happens to be black. And you come on this program and you talk about what Democrats are doing to turn out younger voters, to turn out progressive voters. Is it working? Is this a sign that it's working?
I definitely think it's a sign that it's working, Don. Look, I know Andrew Gillum personally. I supported him. I am so excited. And I couldn't help but smile throughout the interview that he just did with you, because those are the types of candidates that Democrats are fielding this fall. Those are the types of people that we are putting up, the Andrew Gillums of the world, the Stacey Abrams, the Lauren Underwoods, the Sharice Davids, the Ben Jealouses, the list goes on, the Colin Allreds. These are the folks that are the future of the Democratic Party. And I think folks are looking up and taking notice and understanding that, yes, candidates of color can win all over this country. And that's what the candidacy of Andrew Gillum, in my opinion, and Stacey Abrams, just to name two, are in fact about.
I've got to ask you, Chris, I had April. He said the same thing. He talked about, candidates in the South. April Ryan said the South shall rise again. He said that they are, the people who helped build the South. It's interesting. What do you think?
No, I think I think you can't help but think of Andrew Gillum and Stacey Abrams, given he mentioned it, Ben Jealous as well, and Simone mentioned that in Maryland. But I think if you think of the two of them, you've got a really fascinating dynamic in the fall, Don, because you have in Georgia and in Florida, you don't just have young African-American Democratic nominee trying to be the first black governor of a state in the South. You also have, on the Republican side, two very loyal Trump supporters. Ron DeSantis, we're going to talk, he got a little bit overshadowed with Andrew Gillum winning, rightly so. Andrew Gillum's a better story tonight. But Ron DeSantis, nobody thought he would win until Donald Trump stepped in and said, he's my guy. He winds up beating the establishment guy in Adam Putnam. So now you're going to have, we talked about this after Georgia, I remember, that you're going to have a very clear choice. You're going to have a very clear choice here, too. I think it speaks to where the two parties are, and we're going to see which one has more power.
Yeah, it looks like the right is aligned themselves with conspiracy theories and white supremacists and an agenda that is not for the working people of America, and the left is for the working people.
Hold those thoughts. Arizona, let's not forget about that. We'll talk about it right after the break.